So hello there and welcome back to my channel Kingstar Zero, and in today's video we have an exciting newest character to discuss in Honkai Star Rail version 1.6, and it's none other than Ruan Mei. Right when this video came out, Ruan Mei had already been released for 1 week, and I wanted to make this video because I was impressed with her outstanding performance until now, and I also want to discuss something important in the conclusion at the end in this video. So without further ado, let's start with her kit. First of all, we start from her skill. Using her skill will consume 1 skill point like other usual character. Once you use her skill, she will buff all your party by increasing all allies damage by 32%. This is scaling by your talent level, and increase weakness break efficiency by 50%, lasting for 3 turns. The meaning of increasing all allies damage count on the elemental damage boost on every character. You can see the buff on the screen, this is the proof, and this buff is an uptime buff, which means along the battle, your DPS and all your allies in the battlefield will always get the buff. Just don't forget that you need to recast it every 3 turns. We are going to talk about her ultimate. Her ultimate will create a field lasting for 2 turns. While cast, all allies in the field will get a all type resistance penetration, and they can apply a debuff called Thanatoplum Rebloom to the enemy. This debuff can be seen on the enemy with a mark over their health bar. This debuff will work if you do a weakness break to the enemy. Okay, so there is a little note in here that you can apply Thanatoplum Rebloom to every enemy in the battlefield, but this Thanatoplum Rebloom will only work to enemy that in a weakness break state. Usually, enemy will recover from their break after some turn. But if the enemy has this mark on them, the marks mean Thanatoplum Rebloom debuff, they will go back to break form and they need another turn again to recover themselves. This debuff will allow your team to recover from enemy attack or to prepare another setup for your DPS. And next, we are going to talk about her passive. Her passive will increase allies' speed except Ruan Mei herself. Then, if an ally does a weakness break to an enemy, Ruan Mei will also deal an ice break damage to the enemy. Her passive is quite simple, and it will be applied to all the teammates too, but there will be a downside of this passive that we will discuss on the end of this video. So we are gonna talk about her first bonus ability. Her first bonus ability will increase 20% break effect for all allies, including Ruan Mei herself. For her second bonus ability, she will regenerate 5 energy every time Ruan Mei gets her own turn. And then for her final bonus ability, surprisingly, this bonus ability is another game-changing buff. This bonus ability will give allies increased damage like her elemental skill buff. This increased damage buff will be scaled by Ruan Mei break effect. If Ruan Mei break effect exceeds 120% break effect, then every 10% break effect after it will increase allies damage by 6% with a maximum until 36%. This means Ruan Mei needs to reach 180% break effect if you want to maximize this bonus ability buff. Okay, next we are gonna talk about her build. You can put 4-piece set Thief of Shooting Meteor, which will increase break effect, or you can use Hackerspace, like if you already have enough break effect. For the 2-piece set, you can put a buff set like Fleet of Ageless or Broken Kill. But if you need break effect, you can use Kingdom of Banditry set. And for the main stat, HP percent or death percent on the body, and then you can put speed on the feet, and then you can put HP percent or death percent on the planar spear, and lastly you can put energy regeneration rate or brick effect on the link ropes, depends on your build and stat that you already have. And then for the substat, you need to aim for brick effect first, then you can go for speed, HP percent or death percent. And next we are going to talk about her signature Lycon. Her Lycon. Her signature Lycon is still the best in slot for her. But if you are F2P, you can use Memories of the Past as the best in slot for 4-star. This Lycon will increase the wearer's brick effect, and then when the wearers attack, this Lycon will also regenerate energy for the holder. And then for the other Lycon, you can use Planetary Rendezvous if your DPS has the same elemental type as Ruan Mei. And then lastly, maybe Dance will be the last option for 4-star Lycon if you want for advance forward. And then for the party, for me, Ruan Mei is a character that fits on every team lineup you have. Her buff basically works well with all current DPS in the game. You can go for double DPS like Jingliu, Blade, and Ruan Mei, or you can put Kafka, Ruan Mei, and another DOT character for a DOT lineup DPS. This kind of flexibility as an harmony character is unique than any other harmony character that most of them sometimes does not work well with one to another DPS. Okay, so we are finally in the final part of this video, which is the conclusion. So you guys already know that in this Honkai Star version 1.6, Riotverse released a new endgame content for Honkai Star, which increased the memory of chaos floor from 10 to 12. This means that the enemy in floor 11 and 12 will be a lot harder to beat, and they will deal a lot more damage than the enemy before. Personally, my first account, which has Ruan Mei, able to clear the floor 12 with full star, but my second account is struggling right now. The fact that I'm struggling on my second account leads me to a question: is Ruan Mei very impactful to my first account, and because of that my second account cannot full star the floor 12? Yeah, I know there is another external factor, and yet this is still just a question that I cannot prove 100% right or wrong, because in Memory of Chaos there is also another factor why my second account is struggling, such as no proper team to fight the enemy. Remember that in the current Memory of Chaos buff, you need to break the enemy weakness, and then every cycle change, the accumulated stack when you break the enemy weakness will be explode to a random enemy. And because Ruan Mei skill will increase the weakness break efficiency for all allies, it means that you can break the enemy weakness faster than before. Okay, so maybe that's all the important message that I want to give to all of you guys. So You guys can decide whether you need to pull Ruan Mei or not for your account, especially for you that play this Honkai tutorial that hunting for another endgame content. So next, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of why you should or should not pull for Ruan Mei in my opinion. So for the first point of the pros is the universal buff she gave. All kind of DPS that are currently available in Honkai tutorial fit with Ruan Mei. Okay, so for example, Tingyun does not work well properly with Blade because Tingyun buffs attack and Blade scaling with HP percent. These two characters does not synergize well, and that's what makes Ruan Mei as a harmonic character that available right now can fit that position. For the second point is the efficiency skill point usage. Remember that you only need to cast her that when you cast her skill, the skill is lasting for 3 turns. It means that you only need to cast her skill again after 2 or 3 turns. And that means on that 2 or 3 turns, your Ruan Mei only needs to use her basic attack, and that makes Ruan Mei as a harmonic character is efficiency skill point usage. And for the third point is the weakness breaking enemy. Remember that her ultimate will give a mark to an enemy, and when the enemy has weakness break by your team, when the enemy wanted to recover themselves, they will get delayed again, and that makes your team have another time to survive more, and that means you can heal your team, or maybe you can also make another setup for your DPS so your DPS can maximize their output damage to the enemy. For the fourth point is the flexible lineup like I mentioned before. Remember that I mentioned the universal buff that Ruan Mei gives. For example, Tingyun can only buffs a single DPS. This works too on Bronya. Bronya can only maximize the buff of herself to a single character. But it's different from Ruan Mei. Ruan Mei can buff all allies in the team on the battlefield. So that means if you put 2 DPS on the battlefield, 2 of the DPS will get Ruan Mei buffs in a single cast. So when you put Jingliu and Blade, these two characters scaling different each other. Jingliu scale with attack percent and Blade scale with HP percent. And Ruan Mei as a single harmony character in team can buff 2 of these characters well. And that's what makes the lineup is very flexible for Ruan Mei. You can put 2 DPS like Jingliu and Blade, or DOT team like Kafka with Lucas, Sampo, and Guinevere, or maybe you can also use Ruan Mei in a hyper carry team for a single DPS like the hyper carry Jingliu, hyper carry Blade, and other any kind of lineup. And for the last point is, yes, she is a waifuable character. No, I'm not kidding, but yeah, we go on now that she is a girl character and she is a waifuable character, and that means this character is also a fan service for all of us. But overall, from this pros, I cannot say furthermore, but for me, she is a very all-rounded harmony character, and she is a must pull in my opinion. I mean, this is also for future investment. But if there is a pros, there is also a cons. There is also things you need to consider when you pull for Ruan Mei. Although some of this does not affect a lot in your gameplay, but knowing these cons may be useful for future use or future investment. So for the first point of the cons is the permanent speed buff is very useful for all allies. But you also need to remember that this buff excludes Ruan Mei. So all your teammates will get the speed buff, but your Ruan Mei will not get this speed buff. It means you need to adjust Ruan Mei speed to maybe be faster than other characters, specifically your DPS. Remember the other passive than the permanent speed buff? Yes, Ruan Mei will deal an ice break damage when other allies breaks an enemy weakness. This passive can steal an enemy kill from your DPS. This kind of situation could be happen and Silly. Remember, when Silly kills an enemy, she will activate her passive, where she will get another turn and she get damage bonus. But when you use Silly to kill an enemy and weakness break the enemy in a single time, Silly can get a kill steal from Ruan Mei, and the kill was registered to Ruan Mei, not to Silly, so your Silly will fail to activate her passive. This situation is rarely occurs, but when you put Silly and Ruan Mei in a single team, you need to remember this. For the third point is the delay from Ruan Mei ultimate may sometimes works or not works well with character that needs to break the enemy weakness every time. For example, a character like Himeko or the newest 4-star character in this version 1.6, Shui, needs to break enemy weakness to gain their stack. But with Ruan Mei delayed action to an enemy that already weakness break with her ultimate, that means the enemy does not have the weakness bar recover again, and these two characters cannot gain their stacks maximized. So that means Ruan Mei with Shui or Himeko is like a character with that synergize well, but also not synergize well too. I know this sounds confusing, but that's what the points I got from using Ruan Mei with Himeko or Shui. Well, maybe that's all the consideration I have for the cons. These pros and cons may or may not can be changed in the future updates. Well, that's all from me. Overall, Ruan Mei is a very useful character. You can put her in most situations and lineups. She is a must-pull harmony character in my opinion. She is an amazing harmony character that increases a lot of buff for your teammate. If you enjoyed this video and found the information helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more Honkai style content, and share your thoughts in the comment below. Until next time, see you again.